Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 3 of the Open Wound Club. Today I wanted to talk about my experience with body dysmorphia, self-image, mean girls, bullies, and just how much hate can affect one's life, or how much bullying and mean words and just awful people affect one's life. I have always been a big girl, and I think I always will be a big girl. Had my fair share of ridicule, mockery, insults, and jokes made up on my body. My body was always the place to go to if you ever wanted to insult me. As much as that experience have taught me to develop tough skin, it's also taught me a lot of shame and pain and just a lot of issues that I did not need as a young child. Growing up, my body was always the topic, because brown families, there's no boundaries, there's no respect, there's no anything besides comments about the issues with other people, but never themselves. So my body was always a topic of conversation. If you look really close, I don't know how to show you this, but I have spots like all over my body, like that. Spots all over my body. Don't know why. It's not contagious, it's not genetic, it just exists on my body. I was just born to be a leopard goddess, okay? And that's always been the topic of conversation and insecurity thrown at me because, quote unquote, I was ugly and I was dirty, and that, people assumed I didn't shower because I had pigmentation, and because I have pigmentation and spots and all these things. People accused me of being dirty, and by people, I'm talking about my family members. So yeah. And every time I would eat, there would always be passive-aggressive comments being made like, oh, do you really want a lot? Do you really need that much? Or make sure that there is some for everyone. I'm painting, so that's why I keep, so I'm not looking at you. So, yeah. Yeah, there was just always comments made about me, about my appearance, and I could never avoid it no matter what. And I wasn't as vocal about it as I am now. I was a kid. I didn't know what to make of it. In my eyes, they were always correct because they were the adults. They knew better. They just cared for me. And yeah, I don't really want to focus on the familial side of it. I want to talk about the social side of my life, what was like for me to be at school and dealing with mean girls or cliquey bitches. I use the term bitches gender neutrally, by the way, so it's not exclusive to women, but I wasn't in all girls class, so most of the experiences I have had with these mean girls, so I guess in a way I do mean the girls when I say bitch, but take it gender neutrally because everyone's a bitch to me. One girl that I have a very complicated relationship with, like a complicated friendship, sorry, not relationship, because she was just always hot and cold. She's my friend one day, she's not the next. I never know what to expect with her, but I've always been super kind to her, and I think the reason we bonded so much in the previous years was because we both have, mental health issues and social issues, I guess. So I always felt seen in her company. Now, when I had come to my high school, I was a new student. So I hadn't been there my entire life. She was too. And it was just very easy to talk to her because she was a new student as well, and we were both, still getting to know our surroundings, our teachers, the fellow students in our class. you know, just getting a feel for the environment. So I just always felt seen and, you know, just accepted in her company, or at least I thought I was accepted in her company. But she also had a lot of issues going around that I didn't know about until later. I would like to say that she is a different person now, and or at least I prefer her now than I did back then. But I remember I posted something on my Instagram account. It was a poem that I had, it was a spoken word poem that I had recorded of myself. This was before I learned how to edit or anything. I was just, you know, yapping on a camera. Some random boy reached out to me, some random boy that is mutuals with her, but I didn't know that until, you know, she had texted me around the same time he had DM'd me, and he was complimenting, you know, my poem, and I was very excited because I rarely ever get feedback on my poems, and if people genuinely connect and, you know, like it. And that poem was very specific because I talked about my appearance, my body, and just kind of my relationship with it. So he was just saying, he was basically just love bombing me. He was like, oh, you're so like blah blah blah, you're so nice, and the poem was great, and he really admired that I was what's it called, that I was talking about these issues, and that he felt seen and heard despite him, you know, being a dude, and, you know, never really had to worry about his appearance. And that conversation was just about him asking me about it and things like that, and I appreciated that. I was like genuinely shocked because I feel like dudes don't even read or even listen to poetry anymore. Like, so it was so I found him very interesting. Mind you, I had no romantic feelings. I really don't like men. It's very rare for me to uphold a conversation that long with a guy. Sorry, he was not even a guy, he was a boy. And the conversation got very creepy. He started saying, oh, are you single? I was like, at the time I was in a little bit of a situationship with another person, so I was like, no, I am not. Very creepily asking me very personal questions and then trying to, like, I don't know, come see me. And mind you, I was around 15, 16 years old, very naive, okay? I should have been more careful with who I was speaking to, but I thought, you know, since he was mutuals with this one person that I knew, I didn't have to worry too much, right? So, but yeah, the conversation got very creepy, and at the time I was not confident or secure enough to even say fucking no, leave me alone, you're making me feel uncomfortable. You know, I didn't feel comfortable calling out on people's bullshit because I was still a very insecure person. I wonder why. And I was like, hey, I'm not, you know, into any of that, I don't even know you, etc. I kept, you know, stopping his advances, so to speak, or whatever. And then he was like, oh, okay, I understand, blah 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 blah. And then he's like, still texting me saying creepy shit. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? Or are you sure that, like complimenting how I looked, which is very weird because I had already mentioned that, like, bro, no, you know, maybe I didn't say the word no, maybe that's my bad, but I mentioned that I was with someone else at the time. And then all of a sudden, he sends me just a barrage of messages, just ridiculing me, saying things like, oh, you look like you eat 50 burgers, you're disgusting, no one's ever gonna want you, you should kill yourself, you're a pedophile. Mind you, I have a significant age gap with the girls because of COVID. I was not in school during COVID, so I had to repeat my high school years, and he was like, you're such a pedophile, all my friends are saying that you're creepy and that you're this and you're that. And I was so triggered. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, I could not believe that it was real, by the way. And then I get a message from this girl that was mutuals with him and the girl that I had a complicated relationship with, right? And she was like, why are you DMing him? You know, he has a girlfriend. I was like, what the fuck? Like, first of all, I don't know him. I did not know that he had a girlfriend, okay? Which is fucking gross. And she was like, you know, he's such a good guy, he's my friend, why are you being so creepy, why are you going through my mutuals? And he sobbed. I stopped. Like, by the way, she's DMing me this, okay? So she didn't even have the nerve to fucking call me at least. And you know, like, he has a girlfriend, it's just weird that you would do this, yada 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 yada. And I was like, first of all, you are friends with horrible people for the shit he's been saying. And I sent her screenshots of what he said, by the way. I sent her screenshots and I was like, this person is not okay. Like, the shit he's saying to people he don't even fucking know. Like, how are you friends with this dude? Like, genuinely speaking, like. And he's like, oh no, you don't understand him, that's just how he is. I'm like, what do you mean that's just how he is, girl? Like, how are you a girl's girl, but then you're going around hanging out with awful people that treat women like shit? Or like, I have very major trust issues with this one girl, so, you know, but it's not enough for me to, you know, block her as well, right? And again, she's also a very different person now. She was going through a lot at that time that I did not know about until, you know, she told me later on, when we met in a when we I guess started talking in a more civil sense. I just ignored her. I kept my distance, you know. I also did block her for a short period of time. I was like, you know what, no, I need to heal from this. Like, I cannot deal with you right now. I cannot have you on my conscience. And what I hate about it is that idiot DM'd me on my poetry account, and at the time that account was my life. Okay, that account, I started that account, never working on the username, by the way, on Instagram. I started that account when I was struggling with self-harm, when I was struggling with depression and suicide. This is before I even got my diagnosis too, just in some deep shit already. Okay, and then this person came along, and the only thing that made me happy was posting on that account. And I was so happy to, you know, have a very small following of just my friends and family, and I was always getting praise for the poems I would write, and that was the only thing that made me happy, and that was the only thing that made me want to live until this moment. And I hate that idiot forever played that. And I remember I was like, this is 3 weeks go by, and after I had blocked and cut off all communication with both of them, 2 or 3 weeks go by, and I went through that DM again, and I'll never forget. I hate the fact that, like, I let that get to me. I hate the fact that I let a boy get to me that bad. Like, it wasn't even the girl, it wasn't even anyone else. And mind you, I have heard fat-phobic shit my entire life, but that one comment that said I looked like I ate 50 burgers a day, and that I was ugly and I was gonna die and that I should kill myself, ruined me. I don't wanna cry, okay. Because I was already in so much shit mentally. I did not feel like I was normal, and I was feeling like I was going insane. And that's when everything started, and my relationship started with bulimia. Where, trigger warning, please leave if you cannot handle this, but every time I ate, I would go to the bathroom and I would force myself to throw it up. And bulimia I have struggled with for about 4 years now. Just last year, actually, no, not even 4 years, longer than that, but it's been 4 years that I have just stopped myself from doing that. Every time I feel a craving, every time I feel like I need to throw up or feel guilty and I let my thoughts get to me, I just, you know, I do something that distracts me from that. But at the time, that was so bad. And look, when you grow up a big person, you're not gonna see signs of EDs or starvation even on a big person's body, okay? You're not gonna see our ribs, you're not gonna see our skeleton. The only thing you'll see is us losing the weight. And what happens when you lose weight? You get praise. I was suddenly, you know, everyone kept commenting on how good I looked and how fucking amazing I looked, and that they asked me, you know, what my secret was for that discipline, how are you avoiding, you know, sweets, etc., yada yada yada. all while I was fucking dying on the inside. You know, I kept lying. I said that I was, oh, I was just eating full whole meals and I kept drinking lots of water, which I was doing, by the way. I did drink a lot of water, but water was my meal. Water was my sustenance. My meal, all 3 meals. For my snack, if I wanted to feel a little evil, I would have gum and I would have mints and I would have maybe like a piece of chocolate, and that was it. And then I would starve myself, or I would throw that up too if I could. And I still haven't told that girl, her fucking friend, and her, you know, just how much her influence just fucking crushed me. And I avoided her like a plague. Like, I did not want to talk to her. I didn't want to see her. I every time I saw her, I would like freak the fuck out, because like it just triggered so much in me. And like, this is what happens when you're fucking rude to someone. You don't realize how much it hurts. And it's crazy that I was 16 now. I was 16 then, and I am 20 now. And only now I can talk about it without like having a panic attack and without feeling like I'm gonna die. And this is why I want people to be mindful about the language they use, because what is a joke to you is absolutely not to a person. At the end of the day, I was a little girl, okay? And maybe I'm being dramatic for crying about it now, but no one wants to hear that. Like, I was talking to you because you liked something that I made. And I was trying to not be so uncomfortable by your questions, because I understand that not everyone usually means what they say, and I know that not everyone has a good way of conveying what they want to ask, in a respectful manner at least. Something that I loved so deeply, and something that kept me from wanting to kill myself. And then you go and you send me a barrage of messages saying that I should kill myself because I am overweight and I am fat and I'm ugly and that I deserve to be alone. Like, what is wrong with you? And you're saying all of this to a 16-year-old girl who is already struggling with an ED that nobody knows about. I still haven't told that girl, even though we're in talking terms now. I still haven't told that girl how much she's affected me and how much I had tried my hardest to avoid her at all costs. Until recently I just gave up, and I can finally freaking breathe, because I'm not gonna see her ever again, physically. But I was so traumatized, and I was so just full of much more anxiety and self-loathing and all of that. But that was my first experience with this mean girl bully. Wow, I did not plan to cry so early into the episode. I'm sorry, but yeah, I just needed to take a break. Because wow, yeah, I didn't expect the reaction to still be so fresh. But you know, that's what happens when you have awful people in your life. And flash forward to grades, I want to say grades 10 all the way to grade 11. I had completely forgotten about that first experience at this point. You know, I had so many other issues going on that harbored more of my attention. I was like back to, you know, decent terms with this one girl, that same girl. So, you know, we didn't hate each other, but we also acknowledged each other's presence. And, you know, I helped her. She, I guess, helped me in certain things. But, you know, I guess we let bygones be bygones. And now we have a new group of girls that have an issue with me. They still do, but they will never voice it, because God only knows why. No one wants to confront or speak about issues anymore. A group of girls would bully me in a different language that I don't understand. So I don't know what they literally said, but I knew it was mockery because every time I entered a classroom, every time I said anything, it was always that one group of girls giggling and laughing and fucking just making a mock out of me. And it was so painfully obvious. That's the one thing. Like, these girls in my school, in my grade, are cliquey as hell. If they hate you, girl, they hate you. They hate you. And the reasons don't even make sense. Like, none of what they hate me for is even valid. I have mentioned in my episodes, if you've been listening this far, that I'm not a religious person and that I'm a more free thinker, I guess. And I live in a culture and in a country that is very conservative, and I understand that, and I'm very respectful and sensitive to those things because it's just the area I live in, and I don't want to start anything. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I never want to, okay? So I was very respectful and understanding of that, like I understood, but like they thought, oh my gosh, they thought that I was trying to freaking overthrow the government or some shit because just because I had a different opinion and I have a different lifestyle. And look, I have a pretty, my name is very significant to the religion that the country I live in follows. My name carries a lot of weight, and so I guess that also was a problem because I had such a meaningful, like a spiritually meaningful name that people were kind of shocked when I was honest about my relationship with faith. And I understand that maybe they thought that I was trying to, I don't know, ruin their world, which I wasn't. I just said I would just always say that, hey, I don't really look at this in a religious point of view. It's more of, I look at it as more of a practical thing, regarding it. They had never, wanted to have a productive conversation about it. It was always just jokes, and it would often be in the native language they spoke because that's the only thing that they had that they could use against me. They thought that they were being subtle, but oh my god, it was so glaringly obvious. I would have my friends who spoke the same language tell me too, like, babe, I'm so sorry, like, they're being absolutely awful to you. I hate that this is happening. And I was like, you know what? It's whatever. Like, look, they have no balls to come and say the shit they had a problem with to my face, so why am I even worried about people that are so miserable that they need to talk about someone else to have conversations? Like, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, they would constantly gossip and bitch about me, and I was always a problem. I don't know what I did. Like, I just existed. Like, I don't, like, if any of you know me personally, you guys know, like, I am very chill. I really am. And it takes a lot to anger me anymore, unless you care. I mind my own business. I like my own company a little too much, I guess. Like, start something simply because I had an issue with something. I had an issue with someone, like, I'm just not that type of person. I would rather have a discussion with the person who has an issue with me rather than fight them or bitch about them. But that's just me, right? And everyone's different. But again, I was just always minding my own business, and I welcomed every opinion, and I welcomed every critique. I was never disrespectful because they shared a difference of opinion. I knew the context, and and it wasn't like I was oblivious, It wasn't like I did not know anything about religion to go against it, right? Like I was smart in my conversations, and I was smart in my ways of handling with people, and I always gave them respect no matter what. Like, if they needed help with certain things, I'm really good at English. That's something that has been said to me multiple times. So a lot of people would come to me when they would not understand a certain topic that we would be discussing in class, and they had even come up to me so many times for help over things that I found very easy to understand, and I had always welcomed them, and I had always given them, either answers or explanations. Still, it was like a hot and cold situation. Like, some days they'd be like, oh, they were only nice to me if they wanted something, or they were not. If I was to work with them, this is why I hate group projects, by the way. I would rather do the work myself without dealing with people who actively hate me and aren't even shy about it, or won't even temporarily pause just so we could finish a freaking assignment. Like, it was that immature in my class. And to me and ask me about certain things, I'll be like, hey, sure, why not? I'll help you, blah, blah, blah. It's not an issue. Like, you see what I mean? Like, even with people who are rude and freaking disgusting to me, like, I'm not the type of person to dish out the same thing back, you know? Unless I have a good reason to. I just want to move on at the end of the day, right? Like, if you have an issue with me, great. I can't really change your mind, okay? Especially if it's already made up to that extent. And I don't even know what I did wrong, by the way. They never spoke to me about it, so I don't even know what I did to incite such hate or bullying. It's so funny because the shit they had made me go through at school, because I remember I would be pulled out of class to go to like my counselor's office because they had complained about me to the school, saying that I was spreading heretical nonsense and I was like inciting propaganda, and so there's a whole crock of bullshit simply because they asked me a question and I answered truthfully. Mind you, these people ask me such personal, sensitive questions on a regular as if it's very normal, like as if nothing would come of it, right? But then they go ahead and complain when they find an issue with my answer. Like why are you asking me things that you know would cause issues, but then you will not admit it when you are questioned? Like, I told my counselor too, and that was also another traumatizing experience, by the way. I did not know I was gonna interrogate it that much about my personal life, but they had complained to the school that I go to about that, and my counselor is super cool, or she was super cool before she had left. I mean, now she had left, so she was super cool, you know. She understood that, you know, people just have certain issues, and we live in a very sensitive culture and environment, and told me to be careful and mind what I was saying. And she also brought up the fact that, you know, I do have a big age gap with the girls that were in my class, so their sense of maturity has not fully developed yet, and neither is their frontal lobes, and I don't think it will ever develop. But you know, she understood the circumstances, and she knew that I meant no ill intent, because it wasn't like I was going around cursing the school. Like, I was not. I answered a simple question that you decided to complain about, so that you asked me, by the way. That's the thing that I found super annoying. Like, I was so annoyed. Like, I wasted perfectly good instructional, educational time simply because of your discomfort. It's the same bullshit again. They would they would say like a bunch of shit. They would say a bunch of shit in their native tongue as if I couldn't, you know, interpret that it was about me. I mean, I would simply exist in a classroom. Every time I would speak, they were giggling. Every time I would do anything, they would just stare at me like a creep. And it's so funny because these girls, they still stalk me, by the way. They still watch my social media, like, shameless, absolutely shameless. So yeah, and I understand my social media is public, but that does not give you the right to be an asshole to me in person, but then you're going and stalking and being all up in my business. Like, that's fan behavior. Sorry to say it. Like, I understand I am the main reason that you guys even have conversations in the first place, but this is just getting so exhausting. Like, they barely look at me, they barely acknowledge me. Every time I try to say anything, if we're like in a group setting and I'm talking to my friends and they happen to be also friends with my friends, not a single hi, hello, good morning, nothing. But then you go on my stories and you're like watching all my shit. Like, baby, I mean, thank you. I need the views and the likes and the engagement, so thank you for that. Whether you not be in my space, especially if you're so uncomfortable with who I am as a person. Like, goddamn. I've also heard comments being made about my body and the way I present myself. Look, this is my face naturally. There's no makeup, nothing, and I like that. Okay, I prefer myself without makeup than I do with makeup, and I can go to sleep knowing that I look like this. Okay, I know I'm not the epitome of beauty. I know I don't have the most perfect skin, the most perfect hair. I'm not Rapunzel to you. I don't have, you know, a stick figure body, which is bullshit, by the way. Okay with that. I don't want those things because I've spent so many years forcing myself to become that, but my body just wouldn't, because my body is different. My body is normal, and my body is not meant to conform into whatever you think is good or pretty. So many of our issues stems from misogyny and just fucking men being just men in their audacity, really. So like, I'm fine with myself. I really, really am, and it took me so long to get here. And comments on my body, comments on certain ideas I had that I was never even that vocal about, really. Like, I was not. I didn't go around the school parading and thinking that I was so cool and fashionable simply because, you know, I chose to believe differently. Or simply because I was just questioning my faith. I was questioning my faith, you know? And it was always just the most two-faced, passive-aggressive, backhanded comments every time I had just existed within the vicinity of wherever they were. And I'm so proud of myself for not being a bitch just because someone else is miserable in my company, I guess. I'm so proud of myself, because there have been times, girl, there have been times where I wanted to lash out and scream and pull out their hair, but I didn't, because I knew that I was never going to see these people in my life ever again, and I God forbid they ever contact me in the future, because it's disrupting my peace. Like, you already made me cry several times and have panic attacks because of the shit that you've just said to me. Like, why would I ever acknowledge you in my future, in my now? Like, no, I'm in such a good place mentally right now that, like, at least mentally, in the sense where I wasn't this way when I was a kid, you know? So I would never want to be associated with people that disrupt my peace anymore. You can go frick yourself, because I deserve better and I will get better. I know that for 100%. Anyways, throughout grade 11, it was just like passive aggression. They didn't want to work with me. They would say that in the language that they spoke. So to the teachers who knew the same language, by the way, they would say that in the language they spoke. So I was always left alone. I was stuck by myself, which I did not mind. I was alone at home, and I was alone at school. So that was fine by me. I had no issues. I also had, you know, people that genuinely liked my company and genuinely had an interest for what I had to say, and did not, you know, complain to the school about me instead of talking to me like a normal human being. So yeah, I genuinely was fine. You know, I kept my distance. I did what I needed to do when I couldn't avoid them, and that's not always easy. Okay, it's not easy. I was lonely, and I was even more depressed than I had ever been, because all I just wanted was a friend, a person to talk to that was of similar age, that had similar interests, and that wasn't my counselor, because I had to go see her every day. I feel so bad for that woman. I'm pretty sure I was the reason she wanted to retire, because holy shit, I was in her office more than I was in class. That wouldn't freaking have an issue with me. And I went to therapy with her. I just felt very guilty, because I just felt like I was wasting her time, genuinely. And by the way, she will always deny that. She had never said to me that, you know, I was wasting her time. Of course not. She was so amazing, and she just, I could tell that I was tiring her out. Like, I just didn't know what to say anymore, because it would just be the same shit over and over again. That I'm depressed, that I wanted to kill myself, that I was just lonely. And she knew that nothing that she could do would ever change my mind until I, you know, put on my big girl pants and realized that, you know, it's not me. They also just had a weird impression of me, because around grade 10, grade 9, those years were especially difficult for me, because that's when my anxiety was at an all-time high, and I would get so many panic attacks at school, anxiety attacks at school, to the point where I was not sane. I was not mentally present, and I'm assuming they had never seen a mental health episode as big and as aggressive as mine was, because mine my panic attacks leave me pretty dissociated, and it makes me feel like I am out of my body, and that I have no control over it. And I ultimately, a big symptom is that I don't breathe at all. Like, I don't breathe. It's a purely mental thing. I am breathing, but when I'm in that state, I'm not aware that I am or that I can. And so I would have those frequently. And this is also around like, we had just gotten back from COVID. I had just gotten back into school after not being into like a school for like 2-3 years. And, it was a lot of change for me, and all very, very sudden. And I guess my body just didn't have time to process it and recuperate. So hard time. And I think that's another reason why they were being so indifferent and so just mean, man, to me, because I just have suffered so much. And I just can't imagine how in your right mind that you would want to bully, insult, and quite literally separate yourself from me or from a girl who has mental health issues. But then at the same time, you're like, oh, we're there for everyone, we're a girl's girl, we're accepting, we don't care, blah blah blah. Like, how? Like, God forbid you ever live in my situation, because this is the worst thing to ever live with. Anxiety and depression has fucking ruined my life. And I don't mean to say that lightly. I don't mean to say that dramatically even. Like, I am telling you, like I would have had such a great time in my life if I was never this damaged mentally. Oh my God, my life would be so much better if I wasn't having all of these freaking issues. If I truly was just so healthy at mind naturally. Like, people don't realize how privileged it is to not have mental health issues or not have significantly life altering mental health issues, because there's been so many times where I had contemplated if I should even exist anymore, because it felt easier to do something stupid rather than continue to live like this. Because every day my mind is such a dangerous place. Like, it really is, and I hate it more than ever. Like, I really wish, and I really hope that I can come out of this, because like, my mind is such a violent place, and there's never a day I'm not contemplating suicide. Like, I'm constantly thinking about, oh, how I could die, or how easy it is for me to just cut a vein or something like that. Like, and I wish that wasn't on my mind. That is constantly on my mind, and sometimes I just feel like I just feel so lost and so helpless, because I feel like I can't escape it. I feel like I can't escape. I feel like I just can't escape my mind. You guys have no idea how I wish I didn't have this mind. And that's why poetry is so important to me, because it's the only place that I feel normal, and that I feel like I'm seen, and that I can process. And fuck, anxiety and depression makes you feel so lonely, and that is my biggest thing, is like, I feel so alone constantly, even in a room full of people. God, every time I try to film, I always cry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I do not want to cry, but it's difficult for me to talk about without doing it, And you would think, after getting used to it and being more accustomed to it, and having this sort of just become a part of me at this point, you would think that I would not react as strongly as I do now. But what do you know? What do you know? Um, but yeah, it's so lonely, and I feel so alone in a room full of people, whether it's by myself or not, does not matter. I feel alone. I don't feel like anyone understands me at all, no matter how much I talk about it, no matter how much I um, just talk to anyone at this point. And I've been in therapy since grade 9, or grade 10, sorry. Yeah, I've been in therapy since grade 10, and I'm graduating, so it's like, even with the inner work and the journaling and just the hard conversations where she's asking me just the most intense questions, and even talking through all of that is like, I still feel so miserable, and I feel so guilty and so ashamed because I have so much to be grateful for. I really do, and I'm so privileged and blessed to even go to therapy at my school. To the fact that I'm even going to school and the school is helping me this much, like, just, it's so loud in my brain that, like, I just want to stop. I want to not be miserable. I don't want to be this, and I don't want to be known because I'm like this, I have so many things I want to achieve, but it just feels like I can't. I can't do it, And even though I'm in a good place mentally, I still feel those days where I just want to just stop existing, stop everything, and old things creep back. And I just feel like art and poetry and writing and just stuff like this is the only way I can survive. And I also just feel numb now, even though, like, the mental load in my brain right now isn't as heavy as it is some days. I just feel numb, and I just don't feel that zest of life, I guess. I feel old, like I've aged beyond what I should be right now, and I'm just tired, man. I'm tired. And I don't know what to do about it, and I don't know who to talk to, because talking just doesn't feel safe anymore. And I feel kind of hopeless. I just don't know how long I can keep going, And that's why I wanted to make this episode, because I want you to know that words do matter. And they have the power to absolutely destroy you. Even if it's words you don't even understand in a different language. And I just don't want to prove myself anymore. And I don't know what I have to do to just accept that I'm different. I don't know why I need that validation and that assurance that I am okay and that I'm fine and that there's nothing wrong with me. It's just them, I'm just tired. I'm so tired. I don't want to be the one to pick myself up every time. I just want to be a person. I just want to be a person again. I want to live because I want to live. And I genuinely don't feel that. But I don't want to live just to survive. I want the pain to go away. I want the attempts to go away. I want to stop living like I can't control myself anymore. Comfortable I feel talking about this on the internet than I do with the people I love so much. So like, it's crazy. I've just had enough, man. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I keep looking for answers, searching, diagnosis, medicine, everything. And it's like, for what? just to be like this every day. Like, I'm so tired. It's not even about, being lonely anymore. It's the fact that I always find a way to just feel absolutely miserable. Always. Like, it's just so annoying. Because what I do, it's never enough. So yeah, I'm gonna cut it short because I can't go on without just bawling my eyes out. So it's just a little episode this time. I'm sorry. I wanted to talk more in depth, but I really can't do it without just being so miserable. So be kind to whoever it is, even if it's the person you absolutely hate, for no reason. So, because you don't know what they're going through. You really don't. And be a friend when a person needs a friend. It's simple. But we need that now more than ever. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here.